What do 3 different German project cars have to do with my mental health? I'm Eric, and this is Mechanical Mind. Oh, and by the way, everything. My mental health. It's a long journey and there's a large backstory, and as the channel unfolds, I'll share more into that. But let me tell you about what happened and why this channel came into being. I was on a run of duloxetine, and I noticed something. In fact, I noticed nothing. Nothing interested me, nothing was fun. I didn't like anything, I did not like anything. The only thing I had energy to do was sit on the couch and watch Matt Armstrong's YouTube channel on him taking Bugatti Veyrons that are written off and wrecked and fix them up. Something inspired me from that. That was the spark for me. Amidst all the medication, the haze, and the cloud, I found that my love of machines stood the test of my mental health. My S2000 backstory. I used to own a Honda S2000 and I bought it several years ago, and it was an important part of my life. I paid very little for it when I bought it, and it appreciated in value through the entire time I owned it. In fact, there were years it never left the garage, and there were years my wife and I drove it all the way to Malibu. It was one of the best family holidays we ever had, driving down the California coastline. But one of the big life-changing events, having my daughter, shifted my perspective on the Honda. As much as I enjoyed the car, I really missed the fact that the 3 of us couldn't enjoy it as a family. Sure, when she was older, she'd sit in the front seat and we'd bomb around the neighborhood block for a while, and she really enjoyed that. But I did miss out on owning something mechanical that I had worked on and known and fixed and had collectible status, and that was a value template for what happened next. I dusted off my adolescent automotive archives and I searched my memory banks for cars that would have interested me. And one that came up early on the list was the Volkswagen Corrado. I thought this time in the car's lifespan I'd be able to find something that was tired, needed some work, and that I could fix up, buy it fairly affordably, and turn it into something that was quirky but collectible. Fun to drive, but very analog. Actually, a lot like the Honda S2000 was. It was a car cut of a very similar cloth. But I found one on the island and I couldn't go look at it. The sight and thought of dealing with body rust and fabrication, although it's something I want to learn, wasn't a starting point for me on that car. So I decided that the time and investment in that one was a little more than I wanted, and I quickly moved on to my second choice. I localized my search to the market in which I live, and I actually came across another very interesting car from my wish list of childhood dream cars, and that was the 2008 BMW M3 Cabriolet. The naturally aspirated flat 6, top-down cruising, summer weather, family in the front and back seat. I did find one locally. The fixes were mostly cosmetic in nature, which are the kind of repairs that are easy, fun, and usually cost-effective to do. But the price point was pretty high for a project car. I know someday these cars will become more collectible and will maintain their value, but the history of this car I don't think would lend itself to that category. I'd always be defending its import status from the States, its accidents, and the high mileage really put me off. So it wasn't a bad choice of vehicle, it was just the wrong car at the wrong price, at the wrong time. Now, let me tell you about a little bit of a detour or a trap I almost fell into, because I started using some analytical math to think about cars that would appreciate in value, that are easy to work on, affordable now, maybe their market is bottoming out. And I took a long detour down the Porsche Cayman road. In fact, I came pretty close to buying one or two along the way. And ultimately, the one thing that really stopped me from moving forward with the sales or making an offer really was the fact that it was the true 2-seater car. Sure, it's fun to drive, sure, it's sporty, sure, it's collectible classic car status and easy to work on, but I just couldn't go back to the 2-seater coupe mindset. I even had some self-reflection around allowing myself to be selfish, if you want to bring the mental health angle back into this, and like how I maybe tried to convince myself. But when I reconnected with my core values, I knew that wasn't the right car. It did lead to something a little more interesting. Okay, so there's a theme building here. 3 German cars, convertible, back seats, collectible, classic car status, easy to work on, we'll call it relatively. I started taking all these ingredients and adding them up and mixing them together, and I landed on the Porsche 911. Finally, I had a direction in which I wanted to point myself towards. This was the car that I needed to find. But no problem. There's lots for sale in Canada. They're all super affordable. Oh, and by the way, have you ever heard of IMS bearings and bore scoring? Wait till you see what happens next.